Hey guys, it's Bryson with the Parker County Beef Company. Welcome back to our third episode of the Behind the Beef podcast. Flying solo today, but hopefully I do not crash the plane. Hopefully we can keep this thing going. And I give you guys something at best to enjoy and at worst something to laugh at. I'm usually good for at least one or two fumbles along the way. So at worst part, we will clip those out and maybe they'll get us some traction online. Like I said, didn't have anybody on here with me today. We may do another episode later this week or early next week, but I think we'll have a guest back, even if it's just internally here at the Parker County Beef Company. But, you can listen to me talk here for probably 15 or 20 minutes. Usually good for that. Couple things I want to talk about today, things that we're doing here. I want to talk about maybe some things we've learned and then maybe answer some of the common questions that we get here at the Parker County Beef Company. See if you guys like it. So, we have, I mentioned this, and I'm trying to do like a daily YouTube, just quick blurb. Give people something to listen to, 3 to 5 minutes every day. Started that this morning, and what I said in that clip was there's not really a place. If you Google farm-to-table news, farm-to-table anything, there's not really an aggregation of all that content anywhere, and I think that's a big opportunity for us. I want to maybe put together just a site that highlights farm-to-table producers. It could have a good social media presence, and I think there's really lacking an outlet for farm-to-table producers. So obviously, we could integrate that here with the things we do at the Parker County Beef Company, but I think it'd be really cool to partner up with some other local farm-to-table producers, and then we could eventually branch out from there. But I think that's a really cool opportunity that nobody's really put together yet, and I think it'd be really cool to add on to what we're doing here. I mentioned that daily YouTube blurb. I don't have a better word for it, but I think the highlight of that show is going to be news articles that we find, maybe just going through 1 or 2 news articles that we get that have to do with beef or ranching or food supply chains, just something like that gives us something to talk about for a few minutes. And also if we get customer emails that I think would be a great insight for you guys as viewers here at the podcast or customers at the beef company, I think that would be really neat to be able to put that on there as well. So in terms of new things, on the media side, I think we're still doing our TikToks. You guys, wherever you find us, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Yeah, so we're on all of them and we post our content to all of them. So wherever you're seeing this, we appreciate you guys. But we are talk about some of the challenges that we've had in launching a beef company and what we've learned and what we're still working on. But, when we started this beef company back in, I believe, March of this year, we really started it. The simplest thing that we could think of and the way to start this company was doing traditional freezer beef. So for those of you that don't know, freezer beef is kind of the traditional farming and ranching way of selling an animal to have it processed. So you can either sell that animal on the hoof, which means you go to the pasture, pick it out, you weigh it, and you pay the live weight price for that, for that animal. Or you can go by what's the hanging weight, or what's called the hanging weight, and that is essentially the processed weight of that animal before you start turning it into steaks and things like that. And so that was the initial route that we took. And man, we had a lot of traction, especially locally. And I think as far as maybe Houston and out in West Texas, we had a lot of customers that really enjoyed that because it's a dying art. I watched an Instagram reel last night that said, we're at the lowest cattle inventory since 1962. Like family farms, I don't remember the exact number. Maybe I'll find that and put it in here. But they're going out of business daily, so that the amount of producers is shrinking. The average herd size now is down to 44. So you're just seeing these family farms being wiped out. So that traditional way of selling freezer beef is, 1, it's hard to find, and 2, it's hard to find. So that's how we started, and we did the freezer beef. Man, it was great. It was great. We could handle it. We did maybe 6 months worth of orders for those, and we have, I believe, 1 more month of orders here in January coming up. But what we ran into is that there were 2 things. 1, the logistics side of running that beef product or that beef line at scale. It was a lot. It was a lot on us. It was a lot on the cattle side. It was a lot on the customer side. So there's a few different touch points, right? the customer calls, they make a deposit. And the difficult part of that is, we can give them a range, but these steers are going to vary, 200 pounds on the hoof, which converts to maybe 100 pounds, 120 pounds on the hanging weight. And so that affects the price. So it's very difficult to have a conversation with a customer and tell them an approximate price on something that's a, pretty high ticket item. And then two, there's a lot of decisions that customers generally have to make. So we send them a cut sheet, and these customers are expected to know a bunch of things about beef. So we end up answering a lot of questions, which we love. But doing that 20, 30, 40 times a month, it kind of got where by the time we finished answering, just getting through the cut sheets, it was already time to do it again. And there was just a big learning curve for our customers. So what we eventually, let me back up. So we ran the freezer beef. We still have one more month fulfilling those orders. But we kept getting comments of, hey, I'm in Tennessee. Hey, I'm in Florida. Hey, I'm in California. Can we get your beef? And finally, we sat down one day and we said, guys, we have to figure this out. We have to figure out how to get these customers our beef and our product all across the country. So we spent weeks and weeks and weeks on, actually, we set a shipping date. That was, I guess, problem. And also the best thing we did is we said, hey, August 1st, we're shipping. And when we said August 1st, we're shipping, we looked at each other and we said, okay, guys, anybody know how to ship this? And there was kind of crickets in the room. So we started. We tested one thing after another. We got help from a lot of great producers. I know 2 or 3 that reached out to us and said, hey, man, this is what we figured out. Hey, man, this is what we figured out. And combining their insight with just test after test after test and trying, along the way, we figured out the shipping. So we ran the freezer beef, we ran the shipping, and we also had the local pickup component in there as well. People wanting to just come and order 2 or 3 things, they're welcome to do that online. But as we got into the shipping, that just became without a doubt, the largest part of our business. Shipping every week from Washington State to California to Florida to, New York City, Manhattan, became the largest part of our business pretty quickly. And I think along the way, with the level of freezer beef, the volume of freezer beef we were doing, we said, hey, we need to simplify this. If we're going to continue to do this bulk, we're going to have to simplify this for the customer's sake and for our sake. And so what we did is we turned what used to be a half, we just tried to make a package that mimicked that. So we came up with our Cattle Baron box. It's like 170 pounds of box weight product. We're able to give the customers a set price and a set yield. And, honestly, the response was pretty incredible. Just hearing back from the customers, I'm going to get exactly 10 ribeyes. I'm going to get exactly 10 New York strips. I know exactly how, the comfort that a lot of customers felt in knowing exactly how many of each they were going to pick up, when they were going to pick it up, and hey, this is my set price. That was really relieving for a lot of customers. And I think that goes back to the way that we're used to shopping these days. I think everything that we shop for, everything you see here on this podcast setup, I believe I bought on Amazon, and I clicked a button, I knew the price, and I knew when it was going to be delivered. And I think that's what we're used to. So the response was outstanding for when we did that. It made our jobs internally a lot simpler, where we could reach more customers, just because it's all the same inventory to us, and we're combining it and we're making packages that work for the customers. So that kind of takes you to how we got our evolution of our shipping processes. One thing, there's a few things that I did not realize we would have to become not experts in, but well-versed in. And one of those is dry ice. So we had to find a dry ice supplier, first off, that could reliably supply us with hundreds or thousands of pounds of dry ice a week, depending on our volume. We also had to find a way to get that dry ice from said supplier to us, store the dry ice. So there's some iterations in there as well. I know when we first started, we grabbed the dry ice and we picked it up on a Friday because we didn't want to go get it on a Monday. And by the time you go from Friday to Monday, you've lost 15 to 20% of the dry ice that you paid for. So there's a huge learning curve in there. Now we go pick up the dry ice and it arrives. It's basically the last piece we're waiting on. When it gets here, beef starts going in boxes and we ship it out. So that was that was a big learning curve for us. But just learning the dynamics of dry ice and how it sublimates was fascinating, because I have heard of dry ice, and I think I'd seen it like around Halloween and people using it to make spooky scenes at their house and things like that. But I never understood kind of the dynamics of how it works. So when that dry ice goes from a solid to a gas, it's called sublimation. And the number one factor that we've found that affects how much dry ice we need to use and the quality of our frozen shipping is not necessarily the weight of the dry ice, but it's the surface area. So it's a lot like, you imagine like the catalytic converter in your car, right? The more surface area you had, the more they're able to filter that gases that's passing through. But we tried the pellets of the dry ice. We tried 2 pieces of dry ice separated. We tried dry ice, and what we found is that the smaller surface area that you can pack the most dry ice into, the better your shipping is going to go, and the longer that product is going to last. Because essentially, it's only sublimating on that one surface that, or the surface area that exposed. The internal surface area is not sublimating. That's why when we get our dry ice in our big totes, when it sublimates, you'll notice that only the top layer has shrunk. So all of your 5 to 10% shrink comes in that top layer. Another thing that I never thought that I would have to be so well versed in is the intricacies of actual cuts. So, we have to be able to explain our product. For most of my life, honestly, a steak was a steak. And I just thought that, a T-bone, I thought all steaks were T-bones because that's primarily what we had when we had calves processed. But just the level, there's so many different ways to cook even the same steak, much less, you get talking different cuts, different primals, things like that. And just seeing what people are able to do with the beef is truly incredible, because sometimes I can take a perfectly good cut of meat and I can completely ruin it, while there's people on the internet who could take that same cut of meat and could prepare a 5-star dish out of it. So that's been fascinating to see, but we've really had to dive in and make sure we were on point to be able to explain to our customers, because we get phone calls, text, emails, comments on our videos every day that we have to be able to explain our product to our customers, which is completely reasonable. But that I did not realize the level of education that I would need to make sure I had so that I could adequately explain our products to our customers. And then you get into not only just the actual cut, but the amount of different things that people call things is also, people use, I've had people even this last 2 or 3 weeks that use stew meat, chili meat, ground beef, hamburger pat, like so many of those terms just from, what you grew up saying. That's been a huge learning curve, as well as trying to get to the root of, okay, what are we asking about? Like, describe the product to me, like outside of the name you gave it. Like, is it a cube? Is it ground? Where's it coming from? We had to learn a lot of how to, again, it always goes back to what's the best way to describe and inform our customer about our product. And then, man, the last thing that we had to really become, I don't want to say experts because we're not experts, but we had to become really proficient in shipping, the logistics of shipping frozen beef. So there's this nationwide network, thank goodness. Shout out to UPS. UPS, if you want to sponsor the Parker County Beef Company podcast, we would love to have you. But thank goodness that we have a network like that, right? Because I think that's one of the things that unlocked the farm-to-table, nationwide movement are these carriers. Because before, like I said, everybody lived right down the road from the farmer. Before we moved to cities, before we changed the way our communities were built, everybody lived, they knew the farmer. So this is our way of you getting to know the farmer, and UPS and the other carriers are the way of us getting our product to you. Rather than driving to the farm, we'll have the UPS truck drive to you. But a couple things that went into that. One, we had to find a software that let's start off with printing UPS labels. Okay. You can Google that right now. There's a ton of them. Well, the intricacies of shipping with dry ice on a frozen product, there are certain labels you have to print and label in that process in order for your packages to be picked up by UPS and be shipped. So, okay, add that level to it. So then we had to find not only one that would print UPS labels, but one that would print UPS labels plus our frozen food packaging labels. Okay, no problem. That limits it down. The pool's getting a little smaller. Well, now let's imagine you're trying to ship 60 to 70 orders a week. So now we need a UPS system that prints dry ice labels that also integrates with our order system, because I don't know if you guys have ever tried to, at the post office, like type in or send just one package, but it can take several minutes if you're hand entering all of that info. So thankfully we did find, I'm going to reach out to our shipping provider and see if they want to be a part of this podcast. And if they are, I'll put their name right here. If not, thank you, shipping provider, for taking care of us and shipping our beef. So we found the provider. If they're named up here, that means they would like to be in this video. If not, either I didn't reach out to them or they didn't want to be in the video. But it's probably because, if we're being honest, it's probably because I forgot to reach out to them. But then the most important part of our shipping software, the most important thing that we had to find was, how do we let our customers know that their beef is on the way? So add that to the level of, I can ship you frozen beef. It's no problem. I can ship frozen beef right now. But if we pack that for say 90 hours in transport, for like a 3-day ship or something like that, and we pack that to you, and then it gets delivered at say 5 p.m. that day, and you don't know to look for it. So you go out there the next morning when you're leaving for work at 8:45. Well, that's an extra 12 to 15 hours that product was not accounted for, that's been sitting on your porch. So one thing that we make a huge priority here is, I believe there's 4 or 5 emails that get sent out to our customers whenever we ship the beef. So they get one, obviously when their order's placed, they get an order confirmation. When we print the label and pack that box, they're going to say, hey, your beef, it's almost headed your way. When UPS picks it up and scans it, they're going to get one that says beef's on the way. When the UPS driver loads that beef into the delivery truck to take it to their house, like it's actually out for delivery, they will get that email. And then when it's delivered, they will get another email that says, hey, your beef's been delivered. And that's been huge for us, because we've had customers that said, hey, I had to run home real quick, or I forgot that order was coming this week, and then I got the email and I ran home real quick and it was perfect. So those things have been just huge for us. And we kind of loop that back to, we try to over communicate, whether it's through our videos here, the amount of videos we put out, the things that we show in our videos. I think those emails go along with that, in just trying to provide the best customer experience that we can. Obviously there's things that happen. If you've ever ordered anything from anywhere, you've had packages delayed, you've had issues with addresses, you've had all kinds of things. So, and we get that too, but we make that right, and we have processes and things in place to cover that when it's an issue, and we do our best to send beef back out as soon as we can to those customers who had issues. So it all goes back to doing the best that we can to take care of our customer, and that's really what we're looking to do here at the Beef Company. So we're doing a pop-up shop this weekend. I don't know when this video is going to get posted. I think it's going to, if it gets posted correctly, we're doing a pop-up shop tomorrow here in Springtown, Texas. So if you're seeing this, we're doing a pop-up shop the day after this video is posted. But man, pop-up shops are probably my favorite thing to do. I like filming. I like doing I like filming the content. I like responding to comments. But pop-up shops are like my version of boots on the ground, right? So I get to shake hands. I get to talk to people in person that maybe we've interacted with online. And I get to get beef in people's hands and get our product out to the community. And there's a few stories, and they kind of go around the same theme, but there's a few stories from our last few pop-ups that stand out to me that I just wanted to mention on here and just say how cool it was for me. I know of 2 in particular of gentlemen who came to our pop-up shop. They saw it on Facebook or wherever, and they show up at our pop-up shop. And, I like to ask people like, well, hey, what kind of videos do you like to see? Well, where do you follow us? The normal social media people questions. And the response I've gotten more than once now is, your videos, especially the ones about cows and working with the family, these people relate with that because that's what they did as a childhood, or that's what they did in their childhood. So I get people who, man, they get emotional about talking about seeing the cows and thinking back to working with their family, working with the cows, maybe spending a summer on a farm somewhere. And that, to me, more so than our product and our beef, but those conversations are very impactful to hear that us making videos about what we were going to do anyway, but us filming, a 20 to 30 minute video showing our family working together and working with the cows can really have a positive impact on people and maybe give them a better day than they were having to start with. So we enjoy doing that. We also get, it blows my mind. And I try to tell these people how grateful I am, but man, we'll do a pop-up shop, in the Metroplex or something like that. And we get people who drive an hour one way to come see us and pick up our beef. And it humbles you very fast to see the amount of effort that our customers put in to come see us. It's truly unbelievable. And I can't say enough how thankful we are here as a beef company to have great customers like that. It's awe-inspiring to see, the interactions with our customers and the impact we're having here, but also the impact they're having on us. I know it's one thing as a rancher to, take your product, sell it at the local sale barn. You never see it again, right? You unload your calves off a trailer, you never see it again. You don't know what kind of impact that had in somebody's life. You don't know where it ended up or what it did, but with our beef, seeing it from pasture to plate or farm to table, and then getting to have the conversation with people saying, hey, you know what? I fed this to my family, and it took me back to the way my grandmother used to cook beef, or it tasted just like the beef that used to come off my grandparents' farm. That's something that's hard to put into words. It's hard to film this video about, talking about how impactful that is and how cool that is for us as ranchers to just have our product appreciated and know that it's really making an impact in somebody's life. So I hope, like I said when I started this podcast, I hope that at best you found something that interested you. At worst, maybe you found something that I mispronounced a word or said wrong or something you can make fun of me for. I don't know. We'll never know till it gets posted, see where the people run with it. But I appreciate you taking the 20 minutes here to listen to me. We're doing our best to get good guests on here, guys, and just provide good content for you guys, not only in the short form that you see in our Reels and our TikToks, but also in our longer form video, including our podcasts and our newly filmed YouTube videos, whether that's about bees or cows or how we ship beef. We hope you guys enjoy that. And we will be back next time with another episode here from the Parker County Beef Company. Well, hey guys, this has been the third episode of the Behind the Beef podcast, brought to you by the Parker County Beef Company. And it could be brought to you by insert sponsor name here. If you're looking to sponsor a Farm to Table Beef podcast, I know a guy. But until then, there's nothing like sponsoring your own podcast. So this podcast is brought to you by the Parker County Beef Company. We are a fourth-generation cattle ranch here in North Texas, selling our farm-to-table beef directly to you. We do that for our customers locally who can walk in and pick up. You can order online for local pickup, or like most of our customers do, you can have it shipped straight to your front door. Visit us at parkercountybeefcompany.com and get some of the best farm-to-table beef that you've ever had.